Yeah, you have reading the Atlantic novel, but Sullivan Crom. He's a sixth grader at Sakai Intermediate School.
Every part of this soil is sacred in the estimation of people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and road has been hollowed by some sad and happy events and vanished. We'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is within the ancestral territory of the Suquams, people of clear salt water. Expert fishermen, canoe builders, and bass weavers, the Suquams live in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central and Salish Sea as they have for thousands of years. Here, the Suquams live and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations as promised by the Valiant Treaty of 18.
Thank you, Sullivan. Yes. We will be presenting you the certificate, and it reads, the city of Bainbridge Island thanks Sullivan Crom for his contribution and reads promise and acknowledgement at the May 26, 2026 City Council meeting. Your words help us honor the richly complex history and continued presence of Indigenous peoples in our community. Thankful for using your voice to help create a more respectful and inclusive city, Clarence Murray Walkie, Bainbridge Island Mayor. And Councilor, would you please join me? A group picture with you.
Aye.
So it's 6-0 and the chair votes aye. 7-0. At this point, is there any conflict of interest? Anyone has this vote? So good in item 8.3a, approved proclamation for Jewish American Heritage Month, and it will be read by Councilman Burleson.
A proclamation by the City Council of the City of Bainbridge, Washington, declaring May 2026 as Jewish American Heritage Month. Whereas the first Jewish immigrants arrived on the shores of what is now the United States in 1654, seeking stability and a better life, fleeing rising persecution, prejudice, and pogroms. And whereas Jewish American Heritage Month was established in 2006 to recognize and celebrate generations of Jewish Americans of diverse racial and ethnic identities who have enriched and helped shape our nation's civic, social, economic, and cultural life. And whereas Jewish people's varied experiences and rich histories of resilience, faith, and hope in the face of adversity, prejudice, and persecution have been woven into the fabric of our nation's story. And whereas Bainbridge Island encourages all Washingtonians to stand up, speak out, and reject anti-Jewish sentiment and advance safety, equity, compassion, and belonging, and the peaceful coexistence of Jewish people and their neighbors, regardless of religion. And whereas Jewish American Heritage Month is an opportunity to learn about and appreciate the stories and contributions of Jewish Americans throughout history, attend Jewish cultural and learning events, and be in community with Jewish people. Now, therefore, on behalf of Clarence Murray, Mayor of the City of Bainbridge Island, Washington, and on behalf of the City Council, we do hereby proclaim May 2026 as Jewish American Heritage Month in the City of Bainbridge Island, and encourage all Islanders to observe this commemoration by engaging with the multifaceted elements of Jewish history and heritage on this island and beyond. And Hannah Abrams will be accepting this.
My name is Hannah Abrams, and I'm a junior at VHS. As many of you know, I'm also Jewish. I'm not so silent about this part of my identity. I'm pretty vocal about it. Yet the last couple of years, it has really felt comfortable to be vocal about this part of my identity. Such a large part of my identity has been countlessly tried to be silenced and erased. Anti-Semitism has raged wild, and anti-Semitic incidences here and in the rest of the United States have reached levels unseen since the Holocaust. But just because it has been difficult does not mean I've been silent. That's what we do as Jewish Americans. We don't remain silent. For generations, the Jewish American community has been pioneers of change. Today, I am honored to accept this proclamation declaring May Jewish American Heritage Month. This proclamation is more than words on paper. It is a recognition of the countless Jews who have shaped this island and its success. It is a reminder that our voices and our stories matter. So thank you, City Council. This may feel like a small step to you, but I guarantee that it is not a small step to us. It is such a big reminder that us and us as Jewish Americans matter. So thank you.
Thank you so much. City presentation from the City Employee Wellness Committee on the city's participation in the Association of Washington City's Law City Program.
Thank you, Mayor and Council Community. I'd like to welcome the city's Wellness Committee representatives from several departments in the city who respond or plan and present different parts of the wellness program. Share some details about the program, and in particular, make sure you're aware of this before you go to the AWC conference in June, where you'll learn even more. So thank you, Wellness Committee.
Good evening, council members. My name is Joel Schwartz. I'm a development engineer with the city and a member of the Wellness Committee representing the Public Works Department. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the city's wellness program. The city's wellness program was established in 1987 with the support of the mayor, the city council, department directors, and the wellness committee. The program was originally developed through the Association of Washington Cities as part of the healthcare cost containment initiative. What started as a way to encourage healthier lifestyles and reduce healthcare costs has grown into a long-standing part of the city's workplace culture. The continued support from leadership over the years has helped make the program sustainable and impactful. Next slide, please. The purpose of the wellness program is to provide educational opportunities, planned activities, and incentives that help employees improve both their physical and mental health. The program is intended to foster a supportive workplace environment where employees are encouraged to focus on wellness in their daily lives. This includes not only physical health, but also mental awareness, stress management, social connection, and overall work-life balance. This program is formally established in Appendix D of the Employee Manual, reinforcing that employee wellness is recognized as an important organizational policy. Next slide, please. One of the measurable benefits of the wellness program is reduced healthcare costs. Due to the AWC Well City program, cities that achieve at least 50% of employee participation receive a 2% reduction in medical insurance premiums. In 2025, 66% of city employees participated in the wellness program, which qualified the city for the wellness designation. That participation resulted in more than $52,000 in medical premium savings for both the city and employees in 2025 alone. Over the last 10 years, the combined savings has exceeded $418,000. Beyond the direct financial savings, these numbers also reflect strong employee engagement and participation in wellness initiatives. Next slide. The wellness program also creates opportunities for employees to engage with and support the broader community. Activities such as the helpline food drive, the kids helping kids toy drive, and shop with a cop allow employees to participate in meaningful community outreach efforts. These activities strengthen relationships between departments, encourage teamwork, and help reinforce the city's commitment to service beyond our day-to-day operations. Next slide. There are also important organizational and operational benefits associated with employee wellness programs. Healthy employees are generally more focused, engaged, and productive, which ultimately benefits the level of service we provide the community. According to the Wilson program data, organizational with strong wellness participation experience lower medical and pharmacy trends and fewer hospital administrations. Programs like the self-support, employee retention, morale, and an overall workplace culture, which are important for maintaining strong and effective work environment. Next slide, please. Our wellness program focuses heavily on employee education and awareness. Topics include mental awareness, healthy eating, movement and exercise, sleep awareness, social engagement, and community engagement. The goal is not to expect perfection from employees, but to provide resources, encouragement, and opportunities that help employees make healthier choices and maintain balance in their lives. Even small improvements in wellness can have meaningful impact on stress levels, morale, and overall quality of life. Next slide. One of the strengths of the wellness program is that it creates opportunities for employees from different departments to connect with one another in positive and engaging ways. Activities such as brain games, benefit fairs, chili cook-offs, walking challenges, and interdepartmental cornhole tournaments help build camaraderie and workplace relationships. These activities may seem simple, but they contribute to employee morale, teamwork, and a sense of community within the organization. Strong workplace relationships and engagement can have real impact on employee satisfaction and organizational culture. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this update, and I'd be happy to have any questions.
And that voting rising to the shore.
My name is Brenda Landau. I'm the HR analyst and also member of the Wellness Committee. And I just want to take a brief moment to let you know about an exciting new event that we are doing this year in conjunction with the Wellness Committee from the city of Port Arthur. We'll be holding a kickball tournament between cities in the first weekend of August. This is a voluntary, family-friendly event, so we're hoping to have a huge turnout because we're going to have some great food. There's going to be a trophy, and then there's going to be some bragging rights to the winning team. So we want to take this moment to also invite council members to attend if you'd like to. And I'll be sending out an email later this week with some details for you, but I hope you'll be able to join us. And thank you for letting us come to the council tonight and a little presentation.
And just,
where is the kickball?
We're going to be holding it at neutral territory, so it will be in Bremerton at Lions Park.
thank you very much. Glad to participate in the program. Some benefits. Now, item number 4, public comments. We have some folks. Comment is received by the council with no response, and the council cannot deliberate on items that are on the agenda. Lack of comment is not an endorsement or an applicant comment. Due to further guidelines and instructions, and asking for 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members.
Okay, Maureen Olson, followed by Diana West.
I like that you first.
I'm yours. That's what I was saying. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I am Diane West, and I'm the rental district manager at the Bainbridge. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having us on your agenda. You see the words of life shelter. The life means something. It means alternative to living in a vibrant environment. If you didn't know that. No.
Hello, I'm Maureen Olson. I'm a legal advocate, Advocates at YWCA, and I'd like to address a hardship that the Y has recently faced. Our live shelter had a fire and is now uninhabitable due to fire and water damage. The result is our agency has had to house shelter clients and their children at a local hotel. And since we cannot use our kitchen, we've also had to provide meals to our clients at the hotel. So this obviously is something that was not in our annual budget. This is a new cost to us. We have insurance that will repair the shelter. We don't have the money to house our clients elsewhere. And for those of you who don't know, our shelter is the only 24-hour shelter in our county. We are open 24 hours a day, whereas other shelters close between business hours and their clients have to go out into the streets. We have a great demand for our shelter, housing, and legal services, and we've also lost a lot of federal funding under the current administration because our state chooses to protect our immigrants. And that has been had a big effect on us. We also have a lot of immigrants who are our clients. We protect them. So we implore you to consider assistance to our agency. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Let's, can we finish something? To please add that. Thanks. Thank you.
The arrow down.
I'm Miss Battery, President of Arts Communities Bainbridge, and Chair of the Public Art Committee. I'm excited to share an update about Something New 9, a program that continues to grow both in reach and in impact each year. Something New is a temporary art program that brings 5 new pieces to Winslow each year. In 2025, we received 24 submissions to Something New. This year, that number increased to 36. That kind of momentum tells us something important. Artists are paying attention. They see Bainbridge as a place that values creativity and invests in public art. We strongly believe that the increased stipend and travel allowance the council approved last fall favorably impacted not only the number of submissions, but also the quality. This year's selected cohort reflects that energy. We have 5 artists, all based here in Washington State, representing communities from Shelton to Seattle to Louis Nation. The geographic range brings a richness perspective that is deeply rooted in our region. What's especially exciting is the range of experience these artists bring. This installation will truly run the gamut, from emerging artists that are stepping into this scale of work for the first time, to artists with over 30 years of experience. That creates a dynamic exhibition that blends fresh ideas with seasoned practice. Together, these works will activate public space in beautiful ways, inviting curiosity, reflection, and connection. They also reflect Something New's core ambition, to create opportunities for artists at all stages of their careers, while enriching the everyday experience of our community. Ultimately, Something New 9 is more than an exhibition. It's a reflection of a growing, diverse, and engaged artistic community across Washington State, and we're proud to bring that to Bainbridge Island. I truly hope you will enjoy learning more about the selected artworks later in the meeting, and that community members and visitors alike will enjoy viewing them during the upcoming year. Finally, I want to take the opportunity to invite you to the festival finale on Sunday, May 31st. It's the finale for the Asian Arts and Heritage Month. It's 11 to 5 on Sunday, May 31st, at its new location at Waterfront Park. It will be a day full of amazing performances, food vendors, cultural booths, hands-on activities for adults and children, and much more. Hope to see you there. Thank you.
Just move followed by Malcolm Gardner. Now, Jessica. Let's see this. So, I don't get,
I want to talk for a minute about specific issue in the groundwater management plan. We're gonna have a public engagement meeting tomorrow, and I know some of the city council members are gonna attend. And we've been going back and forth with the consultants, we being some members of the subcommittee. There's two subcommittees. And it has to do with the executive summary. Specifically, there's a sentence in the executive summary that has the potential to be misconstrued or misinterpreted. And that sentence is, if managed responsibly, the island's water supply for human consumption is secure for the 20-year planning horizon, given steady population growth combined with changes in climate. Yeah, so if managed responsibly, that's a big if. What do we have to do to achieve responsible management? We have to do a lot. Over the years, we know that when we do reports and we write plans, a lot of times they're not implemented, or they're implemented in part. And a lot of times because of economic limitations or other things. So number one, that sentence I just read, it doesn't say anything about the environment, the environmental considerations, the interaction between surface water and groundwater. Remember, all streams are fed by groundwater. So that's a deficiency in that sentence. The other thing, there's actually two. Another thing about this is if we're going to implement something off of the management strategies, and there's a bunch in there that are good, most notably, stormwater upgrades, if we can do it, to increase recharge, put in some kind of conservation program, totally support that. But we have to do it. We have to prioritize it, we have to fund it, we have to implement it, and then we have to see if it's working or not, how well it's working. So water conservation, managed aquifer recharge, those aren't in place yet, and they've been talked about in this report as if they're in place. That doesn't fly. That's not a standard of care in the industry. You have to have things in place, then you can project them for 20 years. So that's one thing. So we're working on that, but I wanted to make you aware of that. And then that sentence doesn't represent the report's findings because it only looks at the groundwater usage for humans. Okay, just reiterating that. Whereas throughout the report, consistent concern is expressed for the natural environment in addition to the human needs. So we need to say in the executive summary that things have to happen before we can manage responsibly. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Norman. And Don?
Council members, thank you so much for your time tonight. My name is Dawn Jano. I live down at the south end of Bainbridge Island, Ontario. I'm here tonight to continue advocating for compromise, balance, and a holistic look as you consider the transportation element and zoning ordinances advanced by the Planning Commission last Thursday. I've not time to comment tonight on the other issues. We've got a pretty big agenda, but I do hope in the coming meetings. So first, I'd like to address parking. At last Thursday's public hearing on ordinances 2026-4 and 2026-5, a resident raised concerns about the significant parking reductions proposed for Winslow. The Planning Commission advanced those ordinances without any discussion on parking. Tonight, you're considering the transportation element included in goal TR-10, which highlights parking as a vital element in our designated centers. Yet the proposed reductions halve the existing requirements and allowing an additional 50% reduction near the ferry terminal risk conflicting directly with those goals. TR-10 calls for providing adequate parking, preserving on-street parking, expanding public parking, and more.
Winslow already faces parking pressures, especially during business seasons. I drove around 3 times on Sunday, couldn't park. Tourists are already here. So I believe that we can support multimodal transportation, reduce emissions, and recognize that many residents, including seniors, families, and workers, still rely on cars for their essential access throughout Kitsap County. If the city were to pursue a parking structure, it could include secure bike storage, EV charging, carpool spaces, and like restrooms, supporting multimodal travel while also supporting our businesses and the tourist economy. The comments of Mr. Zimmer offered a clear compromise to TR10, and that would be 0.5 stalls per studio, 1 stall per 1-bedroom unit, no reductions below 0.5, and added flexibility for affordable housing. It reduces parking responsibility without undermining access, circulation, or downtown vitality. I urge you to consider this balanced approach as you work through the comp plan in our evolving community vision. Community vision is the next piece that I'd like to speak to. A foundational question for you still remains. Is Winslow, is Bainbridge urban, suburban, semi-rural, or an island community with its own mix of characteristics? Maybe you won't be knitting while I'm speaking, please. Being an island carries real constraints, finite water and fiscal resources, limited infrastructure capacity, and a transportation system dependent on a single ferry corridor. These realities must shape what is feasible and sustainable. Throughout the transportation element document, community vision has replaced community character. Community vision involves solid study and community engagement. I would urge you to engage in a real community vision before you insert that into your plan. I have more about that at time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone in the chamber who has would like to speak before the council? Please state your name.
Hello, council. My name is Bevan Taylor. I know you're discussing housing next week, a study session, but I want to say a few things for you to consider before that happens. I see this council walking towards a comprehensive plan that may not comply with our housing mandates, or worse, one that follows the letter of the law, not its spirit. I see you walking towards policy choices that will technically allow for affordable housing, but won't provide clear and effective pathways to that housing actually being built. I see this council walking towards another failed attempt to create a policy framework that actually works for the people that build and service this community. I've spoken several times in front of this council about the humanity of the island's workforce and low-income residents. I've laid out a case for why people without a lot of money are just as deserving as access to housing on the island as people with a lot of money. I won't rehash that tonight, but I will say that as a born and raised islander, I don't want to just hear talk about theoretical affordable housing. I want to see it actually housing people. I can see that some members of this council are committed to affordable housing construction, but I am not convinced, however, that this body as a whole is likewise committed. I see this council putting a lot of eggs in the subsidized housing basket, but I have not yet seen any seriousness about finding funding sources. I know that Councilmember Nelson believes we can obtain compliant determination from Commerce by simply documenting our shortfall for funding for affordable housing without actually having a plan to build a shortfall or meet our affordable housing targets. This sentiment does not fill me with confidence that we are likely to see a meaningful amount of affordable housing materialize. So my questions to council as you begin considering the housing element next week is whether you actually want to see affordable housing built on Bainbridge Island, or if you'll be satisfied with finding a legal loophole that gets us rule compliant without actually improving affordability. If it's the former, I want to know what you're willing to do about it. I wonder, will you set yourself housing construction targets? Will you commit to regular reviews to see if those targets are being met? And will you commit to changing policy in the future if we fall behind those targets? Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber who would like to speak at this moment? Can you look at anyone on? Close public comment and move to item 5 on our agenda, which is the consent agenda.
To approve the consent agenda.
Second. Thank you. Councilmember Schuyler moves to approve the consent agenda, seconded by Councilmember. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Council vote 6-0, chair votes aye, it's 7-0. Item number 6 on our agenda, city manager.
Good evening, council, Ellen Schroer, interim city manager. Hope you all enjoyed the beautiful afternoon outside today. I just have a couple of highlights for you today. First, I want to put in a plug for the city's e-bike program. We have an e-bike voucher program. This is our second year. The applications close tomorrow. It's an income qualified program designed to encourage folks on the island who might benefit from a little financial assistance to be able to purchase an e-bike and reduce their vehicle trips and greenhouse gas emissions. So encouraging people to take advantage of that. The applications do close tomorrow, and I think we've had a pretty good response so far, but they will be filled by lottery, and we encourage everyone who's interested to apply. Next, I wanted to provide a quick touch point on the consideration of speed cameras. This is a project that the city council authorized staff to do outreach about to gather some information from the community on their opinion of speed cameras before you make a final decision. Staff has selected a consultant and the outreach is beginning. We expect that information gathering and information sharing will happen in June, and a report will come back to you in July for a decision on whether you'd like us to continue working on that, and if so, where the cameras would be. So that, just wanted to bring that back to you. There's a little bit more information in your packet if you want to see the exact kind of dates and times of things that are happening. And then finally, one more reminder, chime in as other commenters have said, that we are having an open house and information session tomorrow for the groundwater management plan. It will be hosted in this room at 6 p.m. here in City Hall. So I encourage council members and members of the community to attend that and learn more about our groundwater management plan. Thank you.
Thank you, city manager. Deputy Mayor.
Question for the city manager. So I was a little surprised by how we were moving forward with the background work on the cameras and so much at our place right now. I'm sorry, I'm maybe this Sunday. I honestly may have been starting. I'm a little concerned about doing it then. Are we committed to do, it's not a present policy issue, so much going on. And school will be ending, and families will be adjusting, and we're paying attention to a lot of other things that we're doing. Is that fixed?
It is not fixed in stone. We will certainly do the outreach, and if there are, if we are finding we're not getting the response rate that we're looking for, or getting the information that we need, we'll certainly stretch that out. And also, of course, the timing of the council report is completely flexible with your availability.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to regular business item 7. The first one is consider transportation element of the comprehensive plan. I know that we had a half hour slated for this topic.
Good evening, council. Ellen Schroer, interim city manager, and we are continuing with our systematic review of the elements of the comprehensive plan. We are introducing tonight the transportation element. The city's transportation element incorporates by reference the island-wide mobility plan. This was before you on May 12th and will be incorporated throughout the review. It's not appearing in the packet as you had forwarded for further review by the Mobility Advisory Committee and also by the council later in this process. So tonight's discussion is intended to focus on the transportation element itself. I'll turn it over to our interim planning director, Darren Buchanan, who will have a few comments and eager to support your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, interim city manager, Darren Buchanan, interim planning director. The transportation element is required under the Road Management Act. The planning commission considered and approved the transportation elements at a March 26, 2026 meeting. The Growth Management Act requires that a transportation element be consistent and implement the land use element. The primary purpose of the transportation element is to set forth the transportation vision, goals, and policies that are consistent with the rest of the comprehensive plan, as well as provide direction for implementing those actions. Currently, the city's operational plan is the island-wide transportation plan, and it's adopted by reference within the transportation element of the previous comprehensive plan. Back in 2019, council expressed support for providing a transportation system that would improve the mobility and safety for everyone. From this, the Sustainable Transportation Task Force was created. They met from 2022 they met from 2020 through 2022. And their work resulted in a sustainable transportation plan, which was adopted on March 22nd, 2022. The new island-wide mobility plan seeks to combine and update information for both of those plans. The merging of the two plans is intended to simplify the transportation and planning, simplify transportation planning efforts, as well as improve transparency. The island-wide mobility plan will serve as the reference document for the transportation element. The pros updates are to reflect the updated planning period and to acknowledge the changing conditions and updated information. On May 12th, council considered the island-wide mobility plan and refer the plans to the mobility advisory committee for review and recommendation. Following adoption of the comprehensive plan as approved, the island-wide mobility plan is presented to be adopted as plan of reference in the transportation element of this comprehensive plan. A few changes to note from the transportation element include replacing non-motorized with active transportation. We'll see that throughout. An updated vision for the transportation elements, as well as an addition of policies to support planning KidSAP, transit bus, rapid transit, and to adopt a safe system approach as recommended by the Federal Highway Administration. There's a motion from today for transportation element to a future consideration of as well.
Raymond? Deputy Mayor,
I want to let everyone know that it's unfortunate. I give us 6 very easy, one word basically, but 2 important motions. So that when we're organizing how we do this, we're aware of that. I will probably try to quickly send my quick notes to, I think I can send directly to you. I can respond on the record. But I apologize, and I do have 3 motions in the next section that I'm going to pass out to you.
and remind we will be moving this forward from the meeting, so we will have time. Any,
Thank you very much. Well, I sent my motion ahead on this particular element. And so this is page TR5 under transportation issues. I just have one motion. The island-wide mobility plan is it's aspirational. It's got it's a big 20-year plan, and it's already been incorporated by reference. And so my goal is not to compete with that plan, but to add back some of the feel of some of the prior plans. So I'm moving to reinsert section M into the comprehensive plan. That is a section that is community character, and I'll read that. There is a desire to retain the feel of the island's existing road system. Outside of Winslow and other designated neighborhood centers, the scenic roadways, open drainage ditches, and windy roads provide a more rural flavor that many consider important elements of the island's character. However, these elements need to be balanced with the community's desire for safe roads that provide mobility options for all ages and abilities of island residents without requiring a vehicle. So I feel it should be a goal to achieve the community's vision for mobility while also not destroying the community and the neighborhood character. And so by deleting section M, we're rejecting the balance, the compromise, and the context-sensitive solutions. So that is the reason behind my motion to reinsert.
I second.
So that was your commission, and I heard Councilor Nelson online. Did you have your second from you? Okay. So it's a motion on the floor for discussion. With that, after that, Councilmember
I guess I just would like to know what the reason for putting looking at that information.
I did not have a specific reason for it, so I believe it was to be ordered with the, I think there was community character that was removed in other sections, it's just to continue along with the removal of that.
It just seems kind of, I don't know how. There, but.
Motion, I do think it was probably removed because there's a fear that it will clash with infrastructure that might not look as common. And that's fine, but the whole point is to balance these things, right? And so this is a policy document, it's by retaining this, we're keeping that side balance in our vision. So, we'll use it. Thank you, Mayor. I'm also in support. I think that community character is adequately described here, defined more or less. So when it's not defined carefully, then I get a little worried about what the assumptions are. And then, it very clearly says that it's balanced with the community's desire for safe roads that provide mobility options for all ages and abilities. And for island residents without private vehicles. So I support.
Any other discussion? Because by saying that's a desired preservation effort, we drive around here and some of those ditches are the only thing next to the shoulder of the road, or there is no shoulder for drainage ditches. So if someone could read this and they're trying to expand, let's say a shoulder or have some other motorized transportation thing, but the drainage ditch is there, which are we saying is more valuable? I mean, I would like to make a friendly amendment just to strike those three words, and I still think the content of this element still stands. Would you accept that? Okay. Second.
I said,
And Nelson, second, just to remove three words open to repetition. Any other comments? Any comment on the motion? Question on the amendment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
6-0, and of course, I vote no. I vote no. All right, we're back to the original motion as amended. Councilman Nelson, sir.
No, apologize.
So back to the amended motion.
Yes, we are.
So I move to reinsert section N into the comprehensive plan, omitting open drainage ditches from the previous motion.
Second.
If you second so Councilmember Land has moved her amended motion. Councilmember Nelson has seconded it. Councilmember Matthews.
Sorry,
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We have 6-0, the chair votes aye, 7-0, motion moves forward. So,
Yes, Mayor, I just have one motion. It is, I'm sorry, I'm so bad at doing my homework in advance. I apologize, things haven't changed. So mine is TR9. It can go either in TR9 or with policy TR 8.5 on page TR 15. And I move to perform a balanced review of off-road and on-road facilities when considering connectivity gaps and opportunities, and conduct citizen outreach and perform feasibility study of connecting Erickson Avenue and Overland Lane. Second.
moved by Councilmember Matthews and seconded by Councilmember, Deputy Mayor Thomas. And the essence in a short sentence would be,
This is something we've been talking about for so long. Even when we were talking about working on the comprehensive plan, several of us kept asking when this would be something to insert into the conversation. So,
Councilmember Shire.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a question if there was more than one element to it. I understand the final element was there, you had some stuff in there. So conducting citizen outreach, all the performance balance review of off-road and on-road facilities when considering connectivity gaps and opportunities is already there. All I did was add conduct citizen outreach and perform a feasibility study of connecting Erickson Avenue. Thank you.
Just for clarification, this is TR9, is it page or is it page TR9? It is page
Right above the peak, like right above where it says TR.
It's the second paragraph from the bottom of the page.
Gotcha. Okay, now that's I have my Bibles on it, would you repeat it?
Yes. I move to perform a balanced review of off-road and on-road facilities when considering connectivity gaps and opportunities, and conduct citizen outreach and perform a feasibility study of connecting Erickson Avenue. So I'm eliminating the citizen outreach, but we can also move it to some.
You're an office and Councilman Brown Johnson.
So appreciate this motion. I was racking my brain with how to now that we've approved the highway transportation plan. With this opportunity because I think this belongs there. And so I think it might be worth checking in with the interim planning director about whether a better, like if we have a majority vote here, whether process wise, it would be better for us to agree to be over that, to have staff add that as something we're gonna do, because this is specific. And I think that'd be great. And if not, I absolutely endorse it here because I want to get it done somewhere.
Was the question of whether it should go in the Highland Park Mobility Plan?
Whether the specificity of exploring the connection of those two streets, we should be putting into the either by transportation plan, or if it makes sense to do it here. Again, I fully support wherever that belongs.
My recommendation would be for the transportation element, but I'd also defer to the city manager, if she has any input as well.
Yeah, well, I think that we can handle it in either place. It is very specific to put in here. The other side of that is the Island Wide Mobility Plan. With that is, we can certainly incorporate it there. From the beginning, the change you would be introducing is that the Island Wide Mobility Plan incorporates existing plan sets. And so in that way, it would sort of beg the question as although this has been discussed for a long time, it's not a project that hasn't been, so I think we could do it either way. But if you'd like to see it here, it certainly would be a fine one to include.
So follow-up, Deputy Mayor.
The follow-up would be, as I mentioned, and I think I said, the only reference to Hillbrand in the Aquatic Transportation Plan or mobility plan was in public comments saying that people didn't want it because because of it would affect biking, walking, etc. So I think we should move it into there. Is there support here for this so that we're clear we do want this actually explored? I think that if we're saying we want to explore it, we're not mandating it happen, but that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I support that. I want to make sure that it's someplace so that we're going to take some action. And not just because this is an aspirational document. So we need to put it somewhere where we know we can get some action.
I support this motion as well. Also acknowledging that 20 years ago, this led to the rise and fall of many council members. So this was a big hoop to do. And just buckle up, people, because this is going to be a very robust conversation with everybody who lives and uses that area.
Before the comment, has been doing a time check every 10 minutes on the subject, so we're going to check in.
So I think I can amend it to go into the island-wide mobility plan that passed or let me see what
I think what would be helpful to make it work well on the plan would be to ask the staff to come back, when this comes back to us with an update to the island-wide mobility plan. That wherever it's appropriate for this to be explored, that's where it's noted. So we would know what figure or what paragraph, what we're saying, we would like to interpret in we'd like added to the plan, the exploration of that connection, including the public process that Councilor Matthews is discussing.
So,
So moved.
there's a second to Councilor Matthews.
I second.
Seconded by Councilor Fowler Johnson, moved by Councilor Matthews, seconded by Councilor Fowler Johnson on this amendment. Any questions? Any comment? On favor, say aye.
Aye.
Please. No, the 6-0, chair votes aye, it is 7-0. Okay. Now we're moving to the next one. Okay. Councilmember Nelson, you have several motions, I believe.
Yes, so I'll just start at the top. So I move to strike the words fiscally responsible from the third sentence of the first paragraph under Transportation Vision 2044. Yeah, I'll speak to it. Was there a second? Sorry, I'm having a difficult time hearing. Just overarching thoughts, which is, I don't think this transportation plan is fiscally responsible. I think it's $100 million primarily for bike lanes, and I think I'm concerned it doesn't adequately respond to the challenges of climate change or further our climate goals, including reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 90%. I will say that completing the connecting centers, if you look in the island-wide mobility plan, it only leads to a 5% reduction in vehicle miles traveled. And this element, it doesn't even mention electric vehicles. Meanwhile, at the municipal level, we've reduced greenhouse gas emissions by 71% by using electric vehicles and sourcing clean energy. This plan would mean a bond offering, so putting money on the credit card, all while we're needing to raise taxes for basic road maintenance. And then we may need a new wastewater treatment plant. We need to spend money to implement the groundwater management plan. And then if you look at the sources of revenue to pay for the plan, we're siphoning off $30 million in real estate excise tax.
We have 7 minutes left for all our motions. Keep up.
Thank you, Mayor. It is to, first of all, find where these are. I was looking at them previously doing homework, and now I have to go back and find them all over again. But I guess I just have to say that this is an aspirational document, and fiscally responsible is absolutely something that we should aspire to. So I do not support.
Yeah, so I probably share Councilor Nelson's concerns, and for that reason, I actually think that it is a good idea to have fiscally responsible here. Because what we're saying is that when we get to 2044, we're going to say we're doing this, this, and this, and it's going to be fiscally responsible. So I actually kind of was talking to myself briefly and thought, no, let's keep fiscally responsible.
Should no further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
I see Nelson and Deputy Mayor sorry. Councilor Nelson votes aye. Those opposed.
Okay.
5 opposed. And their votes no. So this 4, 6-1. Thank you. Councilor Nelson.
The first thing I want to point out is not a motion, it's for the interim director, just to make sure that there's a reference in the, it's right, what we're looking at,
a reference to the plan talking about forested areas, meadows, farms, green use and access, scenic point roads, supporting all forms of transportation. Pretty sure that came from the older version of the policy, we call the principles and policies that we've updated, and I'm pretty sure the language has changed, so I don't know that we need a motion just to ask that someone goes and double checks that that's consistent, because I think that got changed. So if you guys are okay with me an actual motion. Next, my motion is on page TR 15, so to help you find it. Policy 8.1. Unless there's a good reason to have struck while maintaining emergency vehicle response times, I would like to retain that language. So staff has a reason why we would aim to retain emergency vehicle response times in the neighborhoods. Then I move to retain while maintaining emergency vehicle response times in policy TR 8.1 on page 16.
Second.
Been moved by the deputy mayor, seconded by Councilmember Johnson to insert the language of which is stated. Retain. Councilmember Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I would not support this. I know it sounds terrible, but we're already collaborating with fire. And I think there are certain circumstances where it makes sense that, we could do something here that, might impact vehicle response, but we get it back by doing something else. So I think as long as we continue to collaborate, which we've always done, I don't think that I would support changing the way it's.
Yeah, I agree. I think, until we can find some language or get some language as to why it was taken out, I'm going to support it.
Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, I absolutely support this motion. Obviously, living on the south end, we have seen what has happened with the head of the bay, and emergency vehicle response times were delayed. And so I think it's absolutely important to make sure this language is in there, because if somebody has a heart attack, they need somebody to get there quickly. So I support the motion.
We do support this motion because this, again, is a 20-year document, and everybody in this room may not even be here in 20 years. And somebody reading this document may not know some of the back conversations. So making language plain is important.
The motion for Mr. Seconded to insert or retain certain language. That's going to be a transportation plan. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we have Councilmember Schneider going nay, some of the members, and the chair votes aye. So it is 6-1. So just to time take this one, we have about a minute. So with the consent of council, I think we can extend another 10 minutes of this topic. That would. All right. Councilman Nelson.
Okay, I move to add a policy TR 1.5, which reads as follows: receive recommendations from the Mobility Advisory Committee on potential amendments to the island-wide mobility plan and the transportation element.
But I is totally.
Guidance of where this is located in the transportation.
Yeah, I can get a page number.
It's on the bottom of page TR-7. It would be a new policy added as 1.5. And the language of the suggested motion is on page 201 of your packet under Councilmember Nelson's motions. I think that's helpful, Councilmember.
So your hand is up, whether you want to speak.
Yeah, sorry, I'm having audio problems.
Did you want to continue to recognition?
Yeah.
Okay, so, Councilor Nelson's motion is to add a new policy to the transportation element. It's been seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Council votes 6-0, chair votes aye, passes unanimously 7-0. Deputy Mayor Topples?
I'm trying to go really fast here. I think most of the rest of my motions are action out. I'm going to be frank, kind of injecting vehicles and pavement a bit back into and parking a bit back into the plan. I think when I first looked at this, I was concerned that I assumed that what I was looking for is additions and embellishments, improvements in the direction of the mobile, but I feel like there were a few changes that interested. I don't see a reason to do it, so possible to the infrastructure that we need to actually supply. So my next motion, and I'm not sure if this is one of those, but it is safety. It's on TR 15, safety and maintenance goal, TR 9. And it is to restore the word existing. So TR 15, sorry, I'm going to select it on the scroll first. So to me, I mean, some of these changes, I don't know what they mean. I've been trying to avoid us spending any money or effort on roadways and so forth, which unfortunately for us, because we are basically a very low density island, there's going to be a lot of people in cars for some period of time. And so I don't see a reason to, I guess what I'm saying is motion was to, remove existing. My motion is to remove the word existing. So in the original language, because it suggests by adding existing that we're only going to preserve what we have and we would never consider making other changes to the roadway system. And I'm not on board with that. I don't know if we will, but I don't see a reason to modify that. And again, the other motions that I'm going to make, I thought there's a consistent theme.
Second.
Second to add the word
To remove the word that we added the word existing, and I'm very sorry for getting that wrong.
Okay. Second, moved by Deputy Mayor Topples, second by.
Can I read the sentence for the public's benefit?
Yeah.
So without the word, support the safe use of the transportation system by maintaining the roadway network, so no page change. It's already there, and including necessary safety enhancements and transportation improvement projects. The addition had been support the safe use of the transportation system by maintaining the existing roadway system. And then the word, etc. So remove the word existing.
Motion on the floor has been seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Council votes 6-0, chair votes aye, 7-0. Passes unanimously. Councilor Nelson.
I move to add a policy TR 1.6, which reads as follows: encourage the use of electric and hybrid vehicles where possible.
There's plenty further discussion. I think it's pretty clear what the council consent is. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Wait. I'm sorry.
It's because of the so what I would appreciate is if we could start off the conversation by how this is looking whether this then we should just have to get it. So it's kind of the right direction.
We will. And if you guide us to the location, Councilor Nelson.
Oh, apologies. So it would be a new policy TR 1.6 on page TR 7.
Last number.
Is it TR7?
TR7. Thank you.
The motion has not been made yet, right?
It was made.
I'm thinking that Councilmember Nelson is not aware that we need him to make a motion. Is that where we're at right now?
Yeah, anybody can make a motion. You can make this motion.
Thank you very much.
So, Councilmember Nelson, would you like to reintroduce your motion?
Yeah, I lost audio, but I will do it again. So I move to add a policy TR 1.6, which reads as follows: encourage the use of electric and hybrid vehicles where possible.
Deputy Mayor Thomas, Councilor Shire.
So I'm thinking that this is an environmental, not a transportation reason for being.
Deputy Mayor Thomas.
I would agree. I have absolutely no problem with this as a policy, but it's the issue here in this element. That doesn't help us with Maritime Road or traffic or anything. So I think we should maybe hold the motion for, is that the environmental element when it comes to us again?
Councilor Nelson.
Well, the island-wide mobility plan has the goal in it of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, so I think it's part and parcel and that this is directly related.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Councilor Lamb.
Question for the emergency manager. There's been a couple of motions over the last couple of weeks that were made for elements that the motions frankly would have lived in a better space.
If I can quickly interrupt, that's more point where you're not addressing the motion directly. So bring that up. It's a little bit out of turn on this motion that we're trying to deciding whether it's going to be a climate thing or a transportation.
There's a question though, if the environmental element is, we've already done the first touch on that. Is somebody else taking notes that we are going to try and reinsert it, or are council members making notes themselves that these motions that are being put to a different element at a later date, we remember to bring these back? That's my question.
Thank you. Staff is compiling the list of your motions through the minutes and also to just make sure that we're truing up. And so we can bring this back to you as part of the environmental element when it comes back, but we won't update the environmental element unless you pass a motion even today that says update the environmental element with this language.
That's your question. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Thomas.
Any process reason we couldn't make that motion today? I thought it's a question for the city attorney since that. How about we modify this to, if the motion maker's willing to, make a motion today, add it to the environmental.
Thanks, Mayor. I would support, I'll support it in transportation. It's aspirational here, but it seems like it might have more teeth as an environmental greenhouse.
gas goal. But I would support either.
Discussion, this has been a time check, we're at 42 minutes now, I didn't know the 10 minutes would push us to 50 minutes on discussion, so, just want to keep it in mind. Right?
Well, Councilmember,
Could that be?
Councilmember Nelson, are you willing to do that? I think what we have to be wary of is editing the content on the fly by just a few council members here, that we don't lose good structure and process. So would you be willing to make that motion to move it to the?
Okay, how about modified motion? Or I withdraw my motion, I'll make a new motion. I move to add a new policy either to the transportation element or to the environmental element that reads as follows. Encourage the use of electric and hybrid vehicles where possible.
The motion, and then just simply add as consideration to the environmental element center. Right, Deputy Mayor Talbot.
So the motion actually was to add one or the other, and staff is in what's the direction? Are you asking staff to make a decision for us as to which one's appropriate, or go with the direction of staff?
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion and I'll make a new motion. I move to add a new policy to the environmental element which reads as follows. Encourage the use of electric and hybrid vehicles where possible.
And just clarification of Councilman, that you agree with the approval of the motion. Thank you.
That's like the motion.
No, we have a second. We have further. So this horse is. All right, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Council, carry 7. Keep in mind, 7 minutes left, you have many amendments, so let's move. Go ahead, Councilman.
Oh, no, it's not.
Well, definitely tight top.
Okay, so on page, on page TR 16, policy 9.1, which I also. I would to remove this in its entirety, and I will explain why. I recognize this something we're going to develop with the safe systems approach and the zero fatality standard. And while of course all of these are really, I mean, obviously a zero fatality standard is that would be great, that should be our goal. I think that the safe systems approach is directed almost entirely at substantial reduction in speed limits. I think it's actually concerning that this edition was not transparent about that. I think some of us have some concerns. We may have gone a bit far in that direction, and I'm not going to vote to adopt a standard, an outside standard that I don't think the community fully understands, the council fully understands. I personally don't believe I'm going to support it in its entirety, such that I would put in the comment.
Councilman Nelson. Councilman Nelson, your hand is up.
Apologies, it was still up. I have nothing.
So
this made me think more of the role, also that
if I may recommend, there's a motion moved, but it hasn't been seconded, so I'm waiting for a second.
second.
Thank you. Second.
Just a second. Okay, but I'll speak to it. I guess, this might be one of those that we take note of until we get more information on what the safe systems approach is, because I don't know that I remember talking about it, but I don't know that I posted.
Deputy Mayor Talbot.
Another possibility is we could from now on include it, which I think that could also be, but we could put it to the mobility committee and ask them to sell it to us, and then we can adopt it then. But this is a question again, like I think work that's been done that the planning commission and the city council hasn't really been involved in, and it needs to get to this level where we make such an enforcement.
Councilman Schneider.
I would support you going to the mobility committee. However, it does speak right here to the road safety for all users, anticipating human error. And I think that is one of the biggest, I mean, obviously reducing speeds does always reduce traffic fatalities and serious injury. But the new concept here is saying that the roadways and the infrastructure has to assume that people are human and make mistakes. So I would be happy to support it going to the mobility committee themselves.
Any further discussion? The move and seconded to take this policy TR for one to the mobility. Deputy Attorney Caput.
I think that probably people would like to formally amend the motion to include and refer this policy question to mobility committee. Yeah. So I'm amending that.
Second.
Commissioner Higginbotham moved to amend her motion and seconded by Councilor Matthews. Any further discussion? Councilor Schreiber.
Sorry, I think what you're saying is that we are including it and we're not including it. Okay, I support it.
Just to be clear, my motion is to remove 9.1 in its entirety and to move that question to the mobility committee for future action.
Any further discussion or clarification on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, 6-0, the chair votes aye, 7-0. We're back to about 3 minutes left on this slide. Councilor Nelson.
I move to strike policy TR 5.1 as it is in conflict with goal TR 10.
The first policy under goal 5 on page TR 12.
He has made a motion, it hasn't been seconded, so it's just floating right now.
Second.
Page TR 12.
So first one. Deputy Attorney Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, just as much as I'm asking to move things back in to support people who drive cars. So I don't have a problem with this. I would support his language staying in this direction. I certainly want to discourage the use of cars, but I also just want to provide infrastructure.
Any further discussion on this motion? All for the question, all for Councilor Johnson's motion, seconded by Councilor Lance to remove policy TR 5.1. Please say aye.
Aye.
2 ayes, all opposed, please say nay. So we have Councilor Lance and Councilor Nelson voting aye, and the chair votes nay, so it is 5-2. Fails. 2-5, yes. Deputy Attorney Johnson.
Going back to TR6, page TR16.
The page number.
Yeah, TR6, page TR16. Sorry, I'm just going back. Policy TR 9.2, which is right under the, which I asked you to remove. Policy TR 9.2, I would like to restore, include transportation projects and remove maintain. I can break that into motions as well, and we're to allow people to have different opinions about those. Yeah, so the policy reads right now, what was originally there was include transportation projects and adequate operation and maintenance funding to ensure that vehicular and non-motorized transportation system infrastructure is maintained in a safe, usable condition. What has been struck is include transportation projects, and the word maintain is put in, which may suggest we're already at funding. We now have maintain adequate operation and maintenance funding to ensure that vehicular and active transportation system infrastructure is maintained in safe, usable condition. So my motion is to is to retain the original language, include transportation projects and then remove maintain. So it simply is to include transportation projects and adequate operation and maintenance funding to ensure the infrastructure.
And then we'll just say.
Second.
Then we'll just second. Moved by Councilman Hydropoulos and seconded by Councilman Lance. Then the language as just described. Any further discussion? Question, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Council votes 6-0, chair votes aye, 7-0, and I'm extending another 10 minutes, so we're going to be in the hour mark at the end of this. All right. Councilman Nelson.
Okay, I move to strike the words low volume from the first line of policy TR 2.5 on page TR 9.
That's it. We're going to for the motion. Thank you.
I'll second.
Sorry, last sentence.
Just letting you know that the language that is being spoken about is up on your screen. It is the top motion. So just a little update here for you. Our IT staff is pulling that for you as quickly as we can, also for the public who are watching. And I also want to acknowledge that we are having some technical difficulties tonight, and it is very difficult, I think, for Councilmember Nelson to hear us. And also very difficult for people who are watching to hear the live stream. Oh, our clerk might have one.
I just have a suggestion. If you turn the closed caption on, I'm seeing closed captions in real time. So that might be a helpful way to get around the sound issue.
I also understand that if you are at home and watching on Zoom, the audio is much better than on the live stream on our city website. So apologies for that. We've been working hard to solve this issue, but we're not successful before we even started.
Councilman Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor. So I would oppose this on the grounds that providing it for shoulder facilities only works in safely where you've got low volume arterial roadways. So if it's not low volume, then we shouldn't be providing shoulder facilities.
So I feel differently about the shoulder issue. However, I actually am happy to see shoulders anywhere in here. I don't see that it says we cannot provide shoulders ultimately on higher volume roads. But it does at least encourage shoulder facilities somewhere. So I'm happy to leave it if it said, unless I'm missing something. I don't see it saying that we couldn't decide, hey, we can't afford to do these other projects. We want to leave shoulders or whatever on the other roads. So I'm
I would like to know if low volume is defined somewhere, like what are we saying? What's the number?
I don't believe that that item is defined within this plan.
So it's very subjective.
Correct.
I'll chime in with Councilmember Patrick Johnson. Subjective words are really difficult to decide back and forth, and I think they should just be removed. So I am in support of this motion.
So we're looking at any of the guides that the level of service and whatnot. It is very specifically defined for the level of service facilities are defined for particular speed limits. So it may not be defined in this particular sentence, but if we're going to go look for where the authority says said what we should be doing. It is very much defined and it varies depending on the infrastructure.
Deputy Mayor Hatopoulos, the Councilor Franklin Johnson.
I do want to acknowledge intellectually that this is an addition, so it actually, and that means that we are making a policy decision to say low volume. But then, even then, I just want to acknowledge that, and that's a little concerning to me, but even then, we're making a commitment to providing facilities for communities. So I will support the maintaining.
I think I can ask for clarification. So the Department of Transportation defines low volume as 400 or less trips. If that helps,
Any further discussion? I would strike, just any of there's an opportunity to have the shoulder facilities that it says on it, and it's all volume material locally, so if indeed it was on a higher volume, someone might say that's a violation of conflict, so I just want to give you the opportunity to open for any possible share. Councilor Roman.
No, I'll support that, Mayor Morawaki. Yeah, any opportunity to add some safety in any roadway, I support.
Deputy Mayor, please.
I do really want to comment because I'm going to switch my vote, because the reality is since several of you take this to be limiting us to only doing it on low volume, then I would like to strike it.
So the motion, so by removing your motion, the content stays. I don't know, the motion was to. Right, so you, so Deputy Mayor, so you are moving down.
I'm sorry, I just think when somebody makes a pitch for a vote and they flip their vote, all of a sudden they probably should quickly chime in, and I'm saying that based on the fact, I still don't think this limits us, but since several council members believe that us adopting this language means we will feel prohibited from anything but at shoulders, they were above low volume, I'm changing my vote to agree with the motion and will be voting yes.
I'm pardon me, confused, I'm just stepping in for a second. Well, Councilor Sharp,
Thank you, Mayor. So since safety has been brought up, I just need to share that when you add shoulders to a road, you're making the road wider. And even if there's a white line on that road, the perception on that road is that cars can go faster. So it is in fact more dangerous in some cases to add shoulders. And so it's not the safe option in all cases to add them.
so to the motion maker, since your motion was to remove the words, just remove your motion and the content stays as is. You don't need to have a second motion, because your motion was to remove the word low volume, is that correct? Then,
Okay, we seem to have been turned around here. The motion that Councilmember Nelson made was to remove low volume. Right. And so we need to call a vote for that. That's the only motion.
fair enough. Right. Okay. All in favor of the motion to remove the words low volume?
Aye.
All opposed? So then it was that was 3-4, yeah. And another.
Okay, also on page 2, my last motion is there, policy 9.3, so let's see. Page TR 16, 9.3. Up there. So it's. Okay, yeah, sorry. It is to restore the word motorized. So it would be, consider opportunities to improve the motorized, and I don't have any problem with motorized and active transportation infrastructure as a means to increase mobility options for cyclists and pedestrians, but I don't understand why we would motorized. And again, I'm concerned about us, there being a theme of not continuing, not supporting projects for roads.
Maybe
It's not quite sure.
16.
Yeah, it says, it's right, it's on the screen, right? So it says, consider opportunities to improve, it now says, consider opportunities to improve the active transportation infrastructure as a means to increase mobility options for cyclists and pedestrians. To me, that means we are saying we want to improve bike lanes, it's trails, I don't know, it's not the motorized portion. We're making a policy decision here to move the motorized infrastructure. And perhaps plan director.
Looking at it, I can't speak to the director, but looking at it, I believe it may have been focusing on motorized. And because if you see throughout, we replace everywhere where it's non-motorized with active transportation. So it may have been a mistake of changing, just capturing motorized, and changing it to active transportation.
Like my shadow.
Thank you, Mary. The way I read this is, I think that originally when it said consider opportunities to improve the motorized infrastructure, basically you could just substitute roads there and say, consider opportunities to improve the roads as a means to increase mobility options for cyclists and pedestrians. So I think in any case, you're looking at it as improving the infrastructure for mobility, for cyclists and pedestrians. It's just a different way of referring to what infrastructure is underlying it.
Now that I look at this, and thank you, planning director, because I think what we may be seeing here is there is a typo here. I bet this was non-motorized infrastructure, because who would say motorized infrastructure rather than roads? So I'm gonna withdraw my motion and trust that somehow staff's accidentally deleted the original non, because then all we're doing is we're just changing, like you said, we're just using the new vernacular for that, and this was never directed at roads. It's never directed at particular traffic, roads in general. So.
That discussion now, council, more discussion, Councilor Nelson.
Oh, sorry, is there a motion on the table?
So discussion, next.
I'm sorry, am I able to make a motion?
Yes, recognize that. Yeah.
Okay, so I move to add the following sentence to the end of TR or policy TR 6.6 on page TR 13. Reevaluate speed limits with a view towards encouraging the efficient movement of goods and freight through truck corridors.
This was something, actually, this was, it discuss, I wanted to have when we were going to be, if we were going to be discussing more of, the public or citizen outreach of speed cameras, but, places where it's like Whiteman Road and the Sandspit where the speed limit is fairly, really high, and then a lot of residents complain about that. But there are also places where they might be low, walks and moving goods to the south end. So this is something to discuss.
Motion for this session. Seeing none, all for the question, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And one abstention. So we have, and the chair votes aye, so we. So it's 6 with 1 abstention. Councilor Schneider abstaining. All right. Councilor Nelson, you're right. Councilor Schneider, Councilmember Francie Johnson.
Can I request that when we're doing these motions, that we're slowing down enough to give us a chance to find it and then to hear what your change is? Because you're gonna have people like me. By the time I find it, it's time to vote on it. And that's not, if you don't want my support or not, give me a chance to find it.
Point taken, thank you. Councilor Nelson.
Yeah, I apologize to Councilmember Fontroy Johnson. I just feel like I'm trying to rush through it because of time limits, and so my apologies on that one. So I move to strike TR action number 1 on page TR-20. So page TR-20.
Right. So I'm going to back to you. And Deputy Mayor Thompson.
It's my last motion. And that's on page TR-20, TR action 2. So I'm going to wait until people.
Well, that's good.
I would move to retain the language maximize parking. So that would leave that to state where the kids of transit and Iowa business owners should increase transit, we could say and maximize, increase transit, maximize parking and active transportation opportunities for employees, customers, etc.
Second.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson to add continue with the increased transit, maximum parking, and on the basis, right? And Councilor Nelson seconded. Councilor Schneider.
So I will be supporting this motion. Maximizing parking is almost by definition increasing transit. And I guess the bigger issue is, the community being willing to pay for it, but yeah, no, I can't support it.
So a couple of things, I don't see that, it doesn't say to build a parking garage or add parking or anything really, I mean, we have had a parking problem for a long time, I think all of our downtown business owners would agree, it's a concern, that's to be problematic, it could also be kids of transit, that somehow we're able to get another parking ride somewhere on the island. So there's a lot of things that parking represents, but for us to strike that suggests that we don't have any concerns about parking. And I think that we both have a parking problem downtown in particular, and still be working to encourage people not to drive.
Thanks, Mayor. And so this one I'm not going to support, only because I've been thinking about it from the, not that I own a business, but I run one downtown, and to us, I mean, parking is so valuable there in front of Harbor Square. Folks use it for ferry, folks use it, so we don't park there, we like to leave that for our customers. And when I look at this, it looks like it's on our responsibility, so kids have transit and island business owners to maximize parking. And that almost seems in opposition to increasing transit or encouraging transit. So I get what you're, but I can't support it here.
Just want to say, it says work with, and again, there's a couple more issues we've had. Permit structure, this is a cooperative paragraph saying that we would work together to do this. So I'm generally certainly saying that we're not going to do that.
Just know that I am in support of this. I think it's, especially when you consider parking rides, even the new Day Road one, that will inherently provide more parking downtown without more spaces. And we also know that, working with downtown business owners, they know that people are using their parking for other reasons rather than, visiting their stores. So I think we need to encourage opportunities like this.
Councilor Schneider.
I'll change my mind and
go ahead and support it. I'll take up this battle elsewhere.
Councilmember Bella Johnson.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna support it also, because I think we need to foster some sort of cooperation. Well, you know, or not.
Yeah, I guess if you want to read it, but it's not something that the business owners have to do, it's working with them to help them. Then that's it. It looked like to me like it's homework, like business is on them to maximize parking, which seemed like a nightmare, but. Yeah, okay.
For discussion, thank you for the ending of that, Mr. Matthews, to that. I look at it as the city might be the person reaching out to work, so it's very wrong. It's very good. Any further discussion? All in favor of Deputy Mayor Thomas's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Council votes 6-0, chair votes aye, 7-0, just for the council, I already pre-added 10 minutes, and we're approaching an hour and 20 minutes with that 7 minutes. Thank you. Councilman Nelson.
Okay, so page TR20, oh, we're already on TR20. TR action number 1, I move to strike TR action number 1. I don't support doing a bond offering to pay for these bike lanes, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Thomas.
I just want to point out that it says it's important for the public that it's considering. That's very important, and I appreciate the point made by Councilmember Patrick Johnson. If I thought this was just for the non-motorized transportation, I wouldn't feel comfortable. We have talked about road means that would want to be not considering roads.
Further discussion? Let's add, I agree, it's broad, we need to make sure that we have any possible tools we can to make that transportation happen. So, seeing no hands or Councilor Lynn.
I just want to say, I do support, the motion, because it does say accelerate the accomplishment of the goals of the transportation element. And anything that, isn't in our, general obligation bond language, to accelerate the goals of the transportation element, that's a hard sell for me. If we don't have it in our budget or, a proposed budget going out in a CIP situation, I can't support that.
Any further discussion? Councilor Nichols.
Thanks, Mayor. For me, the keyword is considering, so I would.
Councilor Shine.
Are we voting to strike it? What are you, so opposing it is saying you want to keep it?
Yes.
Okay.
The motion was to strike the entire action.
Okay, and I guess I would just point out that it looks like there's no change been made, so this has been, this is status quo from a previous version. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Okay, Councilor Nelson's motion was to strike TR action number 1. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That Councilmember Nelson, Councilmember Shine, Land voting aye, rest of them, and the chair votes aye, so it is 2-5, the motion fails. Councilor Nelson.
Okay, so page TR17, deleted policy TR 11.4. So I moved. Okay, there we are. I moved to reinstate policy TR 11.4, which reads minimize the use of street lighting outside of Winslow except to address safety, and this is a dark skies issue.
Third policy TR 11.4, seconded by Councilmember Schreiber. Dr. Matthews.
Well, Mayor, we just did a proclamation for this when we were at council, either a proclamation or a resolution for dark skies month, so it's in line with that. So I support.
Further discussion? Call for the question on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So chair votes aye, passes 7-0. Oh, two abstain, I'm sorry. So, Councilor Rowland, pardon that, Councilor Rowland, Councilor Patrick Johnson abstains, so the vote is 2-5, or 5-2 in this case, and then motion carries. Councilor Johnson.
Just one more. So page TR-9. Okay, and then policy TR 2.7. And this is going to be slightly different than the motion that's in the packet. So there's the added sentence, design standards should be based on national guidelines and standards, such as the NACTO Bikeway Design Guide and the AASHTO Bike Guide when appropriate. I move to add at the end of the sentence, to receive grant funding.
If I understand it correctly, that would suggest that we would follow those design guidelines only if it was necessary to achieve grant funding. And to me, I'm either going to endorse those guidelines or not. I wouldn't want to flex it. I've not heard anything that concerns me about those guidelines. So I wouldn't support moving either. I can't support the motion.
I would agree with Councilmember Thomas. And I don't have any problem with following the guidelines that it's the National Association of City Transportation Officials and the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. And the American Association of State Highway and Transportation, they're transportation.org. And what on their homepage, scroll down a little bit, it says collaborating to address truck parking needs. So it's, it's not like a flaming bicycle only organization. So yeah, I will support.
Yeah, I guess my comment would be that, the way it's written now with the addition kind of includes some of the ideas that we brought up earlier, such as, some shoulder improvements or shoulder infrastructure that wasn't up to the school standard guidelines. When we can, it's great. When we don't have the money, but we still need an improvement, I would still like the opportunity to do improvements that aren't up to these standards, but are way better than what the existing conditions are.
I think the key word there is should, right? When we are trying to do the very best we can for safety, we should use all of the standards that, make design safe, and it's a national way to do it. Not saying we have to do it for grants, but we have to do it nobody's looking. It's if we gotta do it. We want to do it all the time because we want to be doing it the right way.
I wonder if adding when appropriate and feasible would help, because to me that includes the feasibility economically, and if we had infinite resources, we probably all love to have the gold standard everywhere, but it feels like there may be any direction we need to be concerned that we have any facilities we go that way. So
maybe that would help.
Councilor Nelson?
I like the idea that the deputy mayor has put forward, and I would support that motion instead, if the deputy mayor would like me to make a different motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, there was a motion on the floor, and I've already forgotten what it was. So are we changing where a motion made, we remove the motion, we're starting with a different action? Is that correct? Okay. Within your
So-
amending.
Yeah, that's why I like to formally remove this motion. But
Okay. You're happy?
or might ask me to make a motion, so we're saying to remove the motion. And I would move to amend policy TR 2.7 to add after when appropriate in the new language and feasible.
I second.
And to understand this is amended the original motion on the floor, or is this the new motion? So we don't have first motion. So now, as I stated, my deputy mayor, and second by, Councilor Sharif.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just thinking we're adding the words, I don't know, the word appropriate versus feasible. So I mean, I guess I don't support any change.
Deputy Mayor, any problems?
To be clear, to me, the distinction is appropriate would be that it's not a place, it's a place where that level of standard makes sense in the location, for example, it's appropriate. Which will be most locations. Feasible means it's feasible. What if it could be financial feasibility? It could be that we're never gonna get the land, we're never gonna be able to do the grade on the sides of the road, we really want to put some sort of infrastructure in that. That's what feasible to me is. I think feasible and appropriate are very different.
Councilor Matthews.
Thanks, Mayor. So this one, I'm actually, and it already says appropriate. So I would think that we're not going to do things unless they're feasible. So I don't know if we're just changing this one.
Any further discussion? One more second, I'm confused, so, we don't even know. The words are, feasible and appropriate. Is that the contention? I understand. So, they are different. It's feasible that you can do it. Is it appropriate that you can go vice versa? It's appropriate, but it's feasible. So I think we're kind of worsening a bit, but it's just a little confusing to this language. So, so the motion is again to add, but we repeat that, Deputy Mayor.
To add and feasible after appropriate in 2.7.
Got it. Thank you for the submission. Good. Okay, I think we've talked about this. Call for the motion, or call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We have 3 yea and 3 nay, and the chair votes nay, so the vote is 3-4, with the nays being Councilor Scheider, Councilmember Conlon Johnson, Councilor Matthews, and myself. The motion fails. Are we done completing this part of the agenda? So let's move on. Oh gosh, we're on item 7B. Okay, just gonna, I just want to draw attention, are we?
It would be wonderful if we would have a motion for item 7A.
Today? Also, move the motion forward. Thank you very much. Councilmember Lamb.
Sure, I'm moving forward the transportation element of the comprehensive plan to a future council business meeting for consideration and approval.
Councilmember Lamb moves this forward. Councilmember Fowler Johnson seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
And I will vote yea. The lone vote being nay is Councilor Nelson, so it fails 6-1. I'm just asking if the council at this moment, if you would like a little break from this. Councilmember.
Did you say it?
No. There we go.
I would request a break.
Response. Thank you.
Yeah. That's bad.
That's it.
Yeah. Money now. Go right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, same thing.
Yeah.
That's really, yeah, I know that's. Maybe, like, moment, like, she's watching. So. It's one actually. It's not, you know, saying it's not. And then I was saying, what's sort of the best to do, which is a lot of time.
You never. Well, you did.
And then it's what I'm here is natural. Okay, so maybe I'll do yeah. Here we go, I put tossing down the road. I got it. Here. No, I know. Yeah. She has this. But I can also potentially, I think it needs to so we all of us.
So, we're back to regular business. Item 7B, let's not go up. This is scheduled for 7:20, so an hour and 20 minutes by schedule on our own agenda. We said 30 minutes on this, but let's hope we can get to it much faster. First, recognize that the mayor on top list, the top numbers. Okay. The water resource development.
We're looking for Councilmember Nelson, and he is for us. There you go.
Just in time, good timing there, Councilor Nelson. We just were being out of recess. Okay, so now we're on 7B.
Thank you, council, and the next item is the water resources element of the comprehensive plan. This element also has a significant plan incorporated by reference, the groundwater management plan, which we'll be discussing at more length later in this process. We introduced that plan to you on the 12th of May and are now here today with the with the water resources element. We have both our public works director and our planning director here to support your discussion.
Thank you, City Manager, Darren Buchanan, and Planning Director. The water resource elements is not required under the Growth Management Act. However, to successfully protect our ground surface and stormwater, a water resource element was developed. This element was considered and approved as presented on March 12th, 2026 by the Planning Commission. To successfully protect and manage our water resources, the element includes a range of protection policies for general groundwater, for groundwater and for storm and surface water. Those water quality, habitat integrity impacts are caused by the way the land was or is used. These impacts come from a multitude of sources like runoff, from commercial and industrial uses, the use of pesticides and fertilizers. The overriding themes that run through all of the policy goals are the preservation and protection of our water quality, our water quantity, and the ecological and hydrological functions. The proposed updates to the water resource element reflects updated planning period and knowledge of changing conditions, the updated information since 2017. A few updates to note are updating policy WR 1.1 to finalize and adopt the groundwater management plan, which was introduced separately at the City Council business meeting on May 12th. To incentivize and maximize opportunities for incorporating water conservation features in design and building codes, as well as creating policies to support revisions of the Bainbridge Municipal Code with the intent of limiting the use of groundwater resources for seasonal irrigation. There is a motion running today to pull the draft water resource element to a future meeting for consideration and approval.
Thank you. I'm going to first recognize Deputy Mayor Thomas and allow her to do her motions because she's not feeling well. We'd like to excuse her after introductions.
Thank you. And I need to do all my, it's okay, I do all three motions. I pass them out to everybody and also provided them, it'll be possible to show them on the screen. Thank you very much. The first motion is on page WR3. And make sure that we're there, we'll look at it, okay? And this is actually just hopefully adding some extra, not taking anything away or changing anything substantive. This is just to add to the list of contaminants and emerging concerns. What I'm doing here is making sure that other household chemicals are added. We know that PFAS and so forth are a big deal, and it's really important, I think, to include, let's see, other household chemicals. So the change adds other household chemicals and reorganizes the list, and then adds the statement: wastewater treatment plants do contribute to long-term groundwater loss by discharging treated effluent to Puget Sound rather than returning water to local aquifer systems.
Second.
Second motion. Discussion.
Can you give me more about the wastewater treatment contributing to the long-term groundwater?
Yeah, so as we know from the groundwater management plan, not surprisingly, a notable amount of our recharge comes from on-site septic and septic systems. And we know that, so that's important. Actually, that's the second motion to clarify the distinction. So what we also know that we didn't need groundwater management plan to tell us that we are currently sending all of our wastewater into Puget Sound. So we are extracting everything that comes through. It's just the normal way things are done. We extract from the ground, we use it, and we send it out to Puget Sound. So we lose fresh water that will never be recharged. That's why we're exploring, hopefully eventually recharge and so forth. This is about distinguishing between on-site sewage versus sewage treatment plants, and this is an educational section if you look at the plan.
And I'm not sure that the wastewater treatment plants, that section there, that should go there. Just, it seems like, I don't know, it's just, it just doesn't seem fit to me, but it's supposed to be.
Thanks, Mayor. I don't know, where to go, but I do support the education and what you're trying to say. This is very important to the work of all boards and certain. Yeah, and just for context, I'm sorry. Just for context, because we're not looking at it as context, and it might be hard for you guys to find it. This is an educational section of the water research. It's not at the beginning. It's an introduction. It's explaining what our system is, how it works, how all the parts work. And so this is the section where there's these two paragraphs, so that's these two first motions I have. One talking about sewage, how we handle sewage. It's actually about sewage because it affects our water by both potentially contaminating it. And then what I'm adding here is clarification. It also has to do with where our water goes. Ultimately, it's different between the two systems.
Councilman Shannon.
Thank you, Mayor. I support this, but I also understand there's a little bit of confusion. I think basically what's being said here in the entire thing is a pro and a con, but it's just not really presented as a pro and a con. Like the pro is the wastewater treatment, you know, is able to clean wastewater to a certain point, and that's the pro. But then also wastewater treatment plants contribute to long-term groundwater loss. So I don't know if also it could be or however, yeah, I think it just maybe a word like however would indicate the pro and con to make it more universally.
I actually originally had wastewater treatment plants also contribute to instead of the do. So that I'm fine with that. I was trying so hard to be factual and not that I just lost the language. I would support a change to. Oh, did I miss that? Yes. Okay. Then I would support changing the motion to wastewater treatment plants also contribute to or do also contribute. Okay. What would you suggest?
I mean, can also contribute.
Well, they do though, basically do so on the water.
That'd be fair.
So do we want to also? Okay, so we're gonna add also to the motion as it's handed to the clerk. That's it.
Very good. Motion on the floor for the discussion. Call question all in favor of the motion. We say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 6-0, chair votes aye. 7-0, motion passes. Two more motions for you.
Thank you.
And I just checked my brain about 20 minutes.
So on the same page, the next immediate paragraph is regarding by contrast on-site sewage. So all I've done here is add similar reference to the impacts on groundwater by saying on-site sewage systems provide a significant source of groundwater recharge on Bainbridge Island by returning wastewater to the law for systems. And I had purposes like, you know, by contrast, contrary to something, we might not.
Second.
I think we could just add the word also. And on-site sewage systems also provide. That's great. I think it's a benefit.
So then just rejected, we're going to do the motion of that, is that?
It's gonna add to this, what I didn't learn for the record, it will add, let's say, sources provided, also provided.
So the body will just add that one. Councilman Lamb.
I'm definitely going to support this motion. I have a very similar motion myself, and mine will simply just say it's important to recognize, however, that on-site sewage systems contribute significantly off of the recharge. So I like my motion better. So I will sally forward through my motion so that everybody will skip it.
For discussion. Call for the question this morning. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Council votes 6-0, chair votes aye, 7-0, motion passes. Councilman Deputy Mayor Thomas.
One more. This was a little more substantive. So what the original language was, this is it's page WR6, and it's up here. That's great. So the original language was aquifers are continuous. So what this is for the context, this is, remember, when we have HL, we have the vision for what we'll be able to say about how we're doing, right? So how are we doing with regards to water in 2044? Is that's correct? Aquifers are continuously monitored and maintained. Original language was, here, above the early warning level as a sustainable, above the warning level at a sustainable level that allows continued water supply to surface habitat. I would like to remove that. That was. That thing straight. That was removed in this draft. And what was put in there was. I realize my underlines are actually helping us. Let's see the original. Can we look at the original real quick? What I'm trying to do is preserve, because we have changed from, we've not been discussing the early warning levels. That's why I think this is really, it's a major policy change we cannot overlook. So let's see, oh, great, this is great. So where we have it on the screen right now is it would say the new language that we've brought, aquifers are continuously monitored and maintained at a sustainable level that allows continued water supply to surface water. I don't disagree with that, but my concern is we're removing above the early warning level. And we're not replacing that with any sort of new policy. And so this goes back to when we first started many years ago, talking about where we were going to be going with the groundwater management plan and what our goals were. And I think it was already underway. We were talking about it. And I know that I had said at that point, hey, we don't even know where the early warning levels came from. And we need to understand them and decide if those are good for us. We have never come back and talked about those. So in the work that has been done in the past on groundwater, there was at some point established, I think by aspect or something in the report, that we had an early warning level for the Fletcher Bay Aquifer. This is about the Fletcher Bay Aquifer dropping X number of feet over X number of years. I don't even know if we're referring to that at all at this point in the groundwater management plan, but we cannot just get rid of that. Here's the language I propose that I hope will give us something to work for, because again, this is where we say we will be when we keep working on the plan. And what I put in there was, so aquifers are continuously monitored, and this is my motion. Aquifers are continuously monitored and maintained within established groundwater level thresholds designed to protect long-term aquifer health and reliability and allow continued water supply to surface water habitat.
Did you need a second?
So what I would say is we don't have that right now. So what we would be saying is that it matters to us as we implement the groundwater management plan that we get some understanding of what groundwater level thresholds we want to stay within. And again, one of the places that matters the most and is the most easy to monitor because it's not volatile. Just last point is the Fletcher Bay Aquifer again. At some point, we need to have a policy conversation about how much drawdown over what period of time do we think is sustainable? Because it is imperceptibly recharged, as I will always say when USGS was here years ago. It is our ancient water source that is not dependent season to season. It is like looking out into the universe and seeing light that died already. It is water that takes hundreds of years to be recharged. So anyway, that's what I couldn't leave without making a pitch for us, saying we're going to establish our rules.
Motion and second discussion, any further discussion?
I'll just briefly say, oh, can you hear me? I'll just briefly say I support the motion, and I was concerned about it originally only saying water supply to surface water habitat, so you adding the and in there, and then also addressing what used to be the early warning level. So very good, I support it.
You say aye.
Aye.
Abstention? 6 yea, no nays, and the chair votes aye, 7-0, and Deputy Mayor. Someone mentioned that we'll be speaking to Deputy Mayor. She is not feeling well, and I don't want to get sick sitting next to her, so she can go home and hopefully watch on Zoom and have a better reception than Councilmember Nelson is. So, yeah. Hopefully feel better soon. So I'm going to suggest because we have run along that we can move item 7C to a future meeting, because that would take some time to go through, and we're kind of tired mentally. I think we got a few agenda spaces, so as long as we have council, we'll move that forward to a future meeting. Right. So let's go to 7D. So
Were there?
Wait, Mayor.
yeah, so we have a motion to move this forward. Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, Councilor Johnson. And Councilor
Wait. Are we still on the water resources element?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay. Okay, so going to page WR8, policy WR 2.1. So, policy 2.1. Okay, the first sentence, recognize that the island functions as an aquifer recharge area. I move to strike that sentence and add in its place, recognize that the entire island is designated by the Washington State Department of Ecology as a critical aquifer recharge area, meaning that the entire island is a critical area under the Growth Management Act.
Second.
So strike the first sentence. I'm sorry, I'm lost. Oh. And we're striking the first sentence.
In the language that Councilmember Johnson was proposing is on page 226 of the packet, it's the third of his motion.
Okay, I support everything, but I don't support adding the growth management act to the. So I think
Talk about sole source aquifer. Are you talking about the little Kitsap Peninsula? Is being sole source aquifer?
Chesapeake.
No, I mean, but is,
The aquifers. If the aquifer's physical location, but I think
yeah. The whole Kitsap Peninsula. We get our aquifers where everybody else gets theirs, right? No,
yeah, well. The Fletcher Bay Aquifer is water.
yeah, I know that is out.
Seems like over by welfare, if I recall. So it's a pretty large water.
Right, so the other, okay, so.
I think Councilmember Nelson wants to say.
Councilor Nelson, hands up.
And this motion is not related to the sole source aquifer point, but only the island's been designated as a sole source aquifer. But that's the point here is about the Department of Ecology's designated our entire island as a critical aquifer recharge area, which makes it a critical area under the Growth Management Act.
Say this, not the only sole source aquifer. Ashland Island or around you're also designated as sole source aquifers as well. Right? Further discussion, Councilor Schneider.
Yeah, I would agree with the earlier comment that I don't see why we need to say that this is under the Growth Management Act. If what we're saying before is true, Washington State Department of Ecology as a critical aquifer recharge area, but the meaning that I don't support it.
Further discussion. For the question, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There's 2 yea, 3 nay, and the chair votes aye. So Councilmember Leonard and Councilmember Nelson voted aye. And the motion fails 2-4.
Councilmember Burwell, can we clarify if you voted aye or nay?
I vote nay. Here comes up.
It's on me.
Video.
Can you read your next motion, Councilor Nelson? Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, you talking to me then? Do you want me to make another motion?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sorry. So then I'm going to make a similar motion as my last one, but it's going to be I move to strike the first sentence of policy WR 2.1 and replace it with recognize that the entire island is designated by the Washington State Department of Ecology as a critical aquifer recharge area.
I'll second.
So.
So, he's making a new motion. And he's removing the groundwater management act from it. And was there a second?
He's removing the growth management.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
growth management.
yes, I second.
And there's a second.
Further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please.
Aye.
And vote. Council members Tiger, Lance, and Nelson voted aye. And Council members Captain Wilson and Matthews voted nay, and the chair votes nay, so it is a tie at the. Next.
This point of clarification, that we're going, do you want all of Councilmember Nelson's motions now, or do you want to go back and forth?
See your thing, sorry, do you have a motion?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. It's your line.
All right, so my motion is on page WR2. This is the water resources introduction. And this is the first paragraph. Okay, so the 26 version is in front of you. And I move to change the first paragraph so that I insert. So I'll just read it through. Bainbridge Island is solely dependent on groundwater for its drinking water. It's what I inserted. In 2013, US EPA designated the aquifers of Bainbridge Island as a sole source aquifer, meaning that it supplies at least 50% of the drinking water consumed in the area overlying the aquifer, and for which there's no alternative source or combination of alternative drinking water sources, which could physically, legally, and economically supply those dependent on the aquifer. It requires a holistic perspective to understand the interdependence among the island's 3 primary water resources: groundwater, surface water, and stormwater. Although these waters are typically regulated and managed independently, they are in nature intimately connected. So that's a motion on my part. And the verbiage that I inserted comes directly from the city's web page, the groundwater on Bainbridge fact sheet.
Second.
Discussion? No discussion?
Thank you. I just didn't think that there was, enough emphasis on the fact that we are a sole source officer. And there was no real description of what that actually means. So again, I took everything from the city's website, run Bainbridge, a fact sheet, and added the language just to emphasize that we are a sole source officer.
Some folks, so there's not number, but we're keeping the three primary resources. So this is good. And
Very much correct.
see no other discussion. All the question, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Schneider vote. By Johnson and Natalie vote nay. The chair votes nay. There is a tie as a result. Since I went to Councilmember Nelson twice, Councilmember Lennon, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so, this is my last motion. This is policy I'll start with page WR-10. This is policy WR 2.16. So the motion that I'm making is I move to change the policy WR 2.16 to maintain and advance a comprehensive program of groundwater data gathering, analysis, and reporting, including modeling, hydrogeologic and geologic studies, and monitoring of static water levels, water use, water quality, surface water flows, and acquisition of other data as necessary. I made this motion because this version implies preservation of a program, not continued progress and enhancement. It needs a little more, some more guts to it. I'll second.
It's been moved by Councilmember and seconded by Councilmember Schneider for this motion. Just for clarification, are you talking about your third point or the second?
It's number 3.
Okay, yeah, so, call for the question on the, motion by Councilmember Lennon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the chair votes aye. Vote is 6-0, motion passes. And the second motion, you're not.
It was already done by Deputy Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Thank you for recognizing it. Councilor Nelson. And just know where we're at in this discussion. Councilor Nelson.
For a motion, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Page WR9, policy 2.9. So it says develop an incentive-based program to encourage exempt well owners to regularly monitor and report the quality of their well water and identify leaks using tools such as flow meters. So my motion is going to go towards also monitoring water levels in addition to quality. So I move to add water levels and before the quality of their well water in policy WR 2.9.
But also, because this one week, there's one.
Okay, I've lost all audio.
So it's a big concern to me because it's the work of other builders and identifying leases and builders. So that's for leaks.
I would like to review change to develop a citizen-based program to encourage citizen homeowners to regularly can you read the way the question are changing?
Yeah, let me read it. So yeah, thank you. Develop an incentive-based program to encourage exempt well owners to regularly monitor and report water levels and the quality of their well water and identify leaks using tools such as flow meters. So yeah, so it's just monitoring water levels in addition to quality.
Yes, I'm wondering about, okay, so you want to develop an entire program around not just the quality of the well water and making sure that leaks are identified, but also you want to make sure that the water levels are being monitored.
That's a question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to source it in my head.
It's fair. So the key word for me is encourage here. So I don't see the need to go back and forth too much. We're encouraging them that, you know, we all know that I was on development, it is, we do get a lot less reporting than we'd like to see. And it's, you're right, we don't have to report, but you know, if you choose to, hopefully we can have some incentives doing that. So I think that is.
Further discussion? Question on favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Vote is 5-0, the chair votes aye, 6-0, the motion passes. Councilor Hudson, we have any further motions to entertain?
That was to me, Mayor. Yes, I do. Apologies. So go to WR 14. Policy WR 5.3. So I had originally put in my motions to strike this, but I don't want to do this at this point because I understand more what the purpose of this is. So I want to move to add at the end of this policy, while maintaining a low risk of septic system failure. So it would read, advocate that the Washington State Department of Health review and revise on-site septic standards for accessory dwelling units for the purposes of removing barriers to the development of small housing typologies while maintaining a low risk of septic system failure. And so my thinking is if it's possible to remove barriers, I think that's really good. I just don't want it to be sacrificing anything and causing an increased risk of septic failure.
Yeah, that's, I said something, I think, where you're, is this something, so, where we feel law and really, but it's complicated, so we find ourselves, just an RV or a recreation vehicle, so really, dwellings, all this is remove barriers, to be able to stay safe.
Chime in that this was something that the planning commission discussed with the idea that, while municipalities and other agencies, or rather municipalities and other municipal groups are trying to meet housing standards by the state. Other agencies, for example, the State Department of Health, the State Department of Ecology, have not given any advice or chimed in on how their rules and regs might be updated or a little more flexible to allow for different housing types, including ADUs that no longer require a 2-bedroom allotment of their on-site septic drain field. So this absolutely encourages the Department of Health to consider what they can do to help us with the housing crisis.
Yeah, Councilmember, further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Council votes 5-0, Chair votes aye, that's a 6-0. Are there any further motions on updating the water resources bill? Councilmember Nelson.
Just one, and then maybe a cleanup one. Page WR14. Then policy 4.14. So I move to strike the word regional from policy WR 4.14. And my reasoning is encouraging the development of a retrofit stormwater facilities instead of regional retrofit stormwater facilities, because I do think we need to be focusing on the city of Bainbridge Island.
What was the reason for regional being in? Just give us a.
I don't know the specifics, but I believe it was because that's what everyone else around us is doing, so just kind of follow suit.
I think I would, if it's explained that way, then I think we are Bainbridge Island and it's our island in our city, but we are also part of a larger regional network. Sometimes I know a lot of times we get accused of only taking care of ourselves, we're not playing with the county. So I think if we're going to think in terms of that, then we should maybe leave Bainbridge Island.
If I were to start with your thoughts, I believe in this situation, the use of regional is referring specifically to different watersheds within the islands. The biggest watershed is one regional watershed identified in SNAP and just branching out to other regions on the island.
So. Then I'm fine with it, it's Bainbridge, it could be specified, regional. Development of Bainbridge Island retrofit stormwater facilities, would that be okay, Councilor Benson?
Yes.
So I want to do this, I would add that as a friendly amendment with no objection from the body. Good. Okay. With that motion as amended, any further questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Council votes 5-0, chair votes aye, passes 6-0. Are we done on talking about the water resources?
Mayor, just one more, which is page WR18. And this is a cleanup one. Oh, page WR18. And then it's WR action number 2, the policy 2.11 under there. You take that language from policy 2.11 above, and policy 2.11 above also includes the Climate Change Advisory Committee and the Environmental Technical Advisory Committee, in addition to the Utility Advisory Committee. So it's not consistent here with what it says above. So I move to add Climate Change Advisory Committee, Environmental Technical Advisory Committee to policy WR 2.11 under WR action number 2. So this is just making this consistent with what the policy is above. And again, under the actions, we're just cutting and pasting the policies and putting them in there. So it should be the same as what it is above. This is just a cleanup amendment. I can't hear. This is frustrating.
Yeah, and I understand that that's what he's saying, to make it match, to make 2.11 match with action 2. That's what I'm not understanding what it's matching.
Yeah, I'm just saying it should match.
That's the case. Look at it, sure that it's consistent.
Can certainly do that, just for where it is from policy on page WR9. In that policy, we did add those additional committees were added, and so Councilmember Nelson is suggesting that we be consistent and add them in both places for their mission. But staff can certainly take care of that.
Are you good with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, are we fine? Councilmember Johnson.
I move to forward the draft water resource element of the comprehensive plan to a future meeting for consideration of approval.
Second.
Move the second and move the water out to your future council meeting. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Council votes 5-0, chair votes aye. Passes 6-0. And moves on. Okay, we just briefly agreed to move item C to a future meeting, so let's move to item D, adopt ordinance number 20,
Excuse me, Mayor Marwaki, I want to make sure Councilmember Nelson heard that we have determined to move item C to a future meeting because Councilmember Haykopolis was needing to leave and wanted to be able to speak to that motion, and it did not seem to be time sensitive, so we can handle it at a future meeting. But I want to hear that as an
Thank you, interim city manager. I was not aware of that, so thank you. I'm having a very hard time hearing. I apologize to everyone.
Okay.
So thank you for your understanding on that. I believe that you also had information to share on item C. So perhaps at a future meeting, our technology will be more on our side and we'll be able to hear you better. Item D, I would like to continue. If we do want to look at additional items that could be moved off from a staff side, I would prefer to include today items D and E. And item H for Councilmember Schneider, I think that, item F, I think is an important discussion, but can also be handled later, so that's up to you. And the something new, our rotation, while it will be very speedy, can also be. So I'll leave that up to council's discretion, but I'm happy to introduce, item D, if you're ready for that.
I think that's a great idea. I support that.
Okay,
So repeat the ones we're moving and the ones we're.
so for today, we will address item 8D and item 8E. Item 8F, the YWCA contribution, would you like to do that one today or move that to a future meeting?
I would love to do that one today.
Okay. Something new, our rotation can be deferred. And then, the council Schneider, we can take care of that one. Okay. So we are moving item 8C and, item 8G.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. All right, item 8D is consideration and adoption for ordinance item, 2026-08, extending the sunset provision for bonus floor area ratio program for an additional 4 months. In the interest of time, I'll step through these slides very quickly. This is an ordinance which was originally approved in August of 2021 and has been extended a couple of times since then. It was developed as part of the Winslow sub-area plan and it was intended as a temporary measure until the Winslow sub-area plan was completed. We're asking you that we're asking you to extend it again one more time to allow us to finish the comprehensive plan with the same development regulations in place as when you started. You do have two options. You can pass an ordinance tonight, which will extend the sunset date for 4 months, or you can let it lapse. And what that would mean is that the code would revert to its 2020 state, and we would need to do a fair amount of reconfiguring of the code to bring it back up into alignment with what has been done by the planning commission. I do want to acknowledge that we should have requested this earlier in conjunction with resolution 2025-18, but we are bringing it to you tonight to allow us to move forward as we can. I'm happy to take any questions.
Matthews.
Thanks, Mayor. I was going to make the motion. Thank you.
Councilor Nelson.
Yeah, I was just interested whether folks would entertain the idea of just making the changes permanent, because we definitely went through this whole planning process without this a part of it, and obviously this does include density bonuses, so you would end up having to do a new land capacity analysis to understand the impact of these changes. And I almost think the best approach would be to just make the changes permanent, and then Planning Commission's going to work on this, and then they could just propose a new ordinance that makes the changes that they want, and then maybe we could do a land capacity analysis in connection with that or something like that. But I just think having this out there where it could come back into play, I mean, at this point, we've been doing this entire planning process assuming that this wasn't a part of the picture. So that's my thought. I don't know how others feel about that.
I appreciate that, Mr. Nelson. My issues with the word permanent, if you were listening to the planning commission, the public hearings were so, I hope we all listened to them. There were 2 days of them. Really, community showed up, all aspects of the community, different viewpoints, but really what we could see was that folks had a lot to say and a lot to think about this, which is really good. And we are going to be holding our own public hearings. So the word permanent to me, before we do that, is a non-starter.
I agree. I was going to say the same thing. I agree. I don't like for it to be permanent. We have some form. It's just they need to finish.
I have a motion.
So I move to adopt ordinance number 2026-08, extending the ordinance for 4 months.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Matthews and seconded by Councilor Conley Thompson, to move this ordinance forward. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's 5-0. Chair votes aye, 6-0. And so now on E.
Correct, receive update on city manager hiring process, and thank you for considering that last item for us, council, well, staff. This item I will introduce and then turn over to the subcommittee to talk about the city manager hiring process. This is the time to provide the community and full council with an update on next steps for the new city manager. So next week, we will just go ahead and turn it over to the subcommittee to talk about the final process, which will happen in the middle of June.
Councilor Matthews.
Thank you so much, interim city manager. So the committee is Deputy Mayor Pentopoulos, Councilmember Fenfer Johnson, and myself. And we've been meeting with interim city manager Kate Brown, as well as Heather from Raptelis, and just have had really great meetings that have all had the community at the center of really figuring out the best ways to engage folks, the best ways to open this process up, and the best ways to get the best possible candidates. So we have a schedule that has been proposed. So dates that are important to know would be Wednesday, June 17th for the tour, and the community engagement event, which will be here from 5:30 to 7 here at City Hall. So get that on your calendars, and then we'll be interviewing candidates with the panel reviews on Thursday, the 18th. And then the big part of this, which I'm sure everyone wants to talk about, are the interview panels, which are a swath of our community, as well as our advisory groups. And so you can see them, but the fire department, the Parks and Recreation District, the School District, Chamber, Healthline House, HRB, Housing Resources Bainbridge, Multicultural Advisory Committee, Sustainable Bainbridge. So it was important, and we wanted to make sure that we were touching different interests. So we have climate, we have culture, we have business, we have services, and our municipal affairs, and then all of the advisory groups.
We are just looking for concurrence that the full council supports this approach. If you could maybe put the last slide back up, I appreciate it. Thank you. These are the panelists that will invite with your direction. We haven't reached out to anyone yet, but I think that based on what interest we heard earlier, people are interested in participating. So again, there will be 3 panels in the morning. A community partners panel, an advisory group panel. Will invite 1 member from each committee, starting with the chairs, and if they're not available, then offer it to other people on the committee, and then a city leadership committee. And so just wanted to get your concurrence on that, and assuming that all of this looks good to you, we'll move forward, and the finalists will be invited to the event on the 17th.
Thank you. Just a question. So, on the 17th, if city council members wanted to attend that day, is that appropriate? That's all right.
The evening event, absolutely. Yes, you're definitely encouraged to come.
No questions. Just comment, Johnson and Matthews, the colleagues, I'm very a lot of hours on this. Really appreciate your dedication, your work. Your students are coming through. So thank you very much. 9 and 7.
Wait, I had a question.
Oh, sorry.
No, the panel interviews, is that on the 17th? Can you go back to the date? I just wanted to make sure I understand the process here. Where was the slide that showed the dates? Yeah, here we go. Oh, okay, on the 8th. Okay, so on the 18th in the morning before we do it is when they do the panel interviews, and you're saying there's going to be 3 panels with 1 from each of those groups. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yep, I concur. Thank you.
The YMCA Allied Shelter. I believe this is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor. So, I'll set the table, as I think I've heard said here before. We had some great public comment this evening regarding the YWCA Alive program and the fire that was experienced in mid-February. And I'm also bringing this motion forward because this program has been supporting Bainbridge Island residents for many years, often in very direct and very quiet ways to our community. The representatives of the Alive program routinely sit at our municipal court to advocate and support people experiencing domestic violence. And they're present with people at some of the most vulnerable and frightening moments of their lives. And that support has been happening for years. And yet, until now, in my understanding, the city has not provided financial support to help sustain that mission, even though their work directly serves island residents. And so this fire really has underscored the need to consider future support for the Alive program. And so it's also recognizing the service that has already been showing up to our community. We have received roughly 25 emails from community members and including local 282 women's committee members, the Kitsap Black Student Union, various health providers have reached out to us. So there's broad support. So I'll make the motion. I move that the City Council authorize a one-time contribution of $25,000 fund to the YWCA Alive Shelter to provide immediate support following the recent fire that disrupted the shelter operations, and to recognize that Bainbridge residents have used this critical domestic violence force, even though the city has not historically provided funding.
Second.
For this solution to the YWCA, the other missing groups. Any China?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I support this. I just had a question. Do you know if other jurisdictions have also offered support? And if, assuming that you might not know, would you be willing to report to us later? It's not a condition of my approval. I'm just curious.
Great question. I don't know, and I will find out and report back. I know that some of our community resources are I believe it's the Bainbridge Community Foundation is also aware of what's going on and is kind of keeping their eye on some funding possibilities that the Y might be able to be applying for. But I did have an email earlier today. I think it reached all of us that was from a representative of Kitsap County Courts. But again, I'll come back to you with an answer to that.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to thank Councilman Berlin for bringing this to our attention, bringing this forward. This was a really, really great job of advocacy for you that you did, because it's an easy thing to think of. It's a no-brainer that we should have thought about, but it's something that I think we've been using their services for 20 years. So this is not a yesterday type of thing. This is a 20-year thing. And so 20 years we have not contributed. So, and then I am friends with the Harriet, who is their CEO. And so I reached out to her about this because we hadn't heard from her, and just might always say nothing about us bringing who's impacted the community along. And she said you would have been in touch with Laura, Councilor Berlin, had been in touch with her since the beginning. And so I just thinking for a job well done, and this.
I'm sorry, back to Councilmember Schneider's question. I am aware that this program does receive funding from Kitsap County. I think there's an amount that goes, I'm not sure if it's a portion of tax revenues that gets sent their way. And then grants. So there's a county part of their programming or their funding, and then it's grants going that way.
Councilman, for discussion? Yeah, thanks for advocating it. That took some effort. I just want to make a point that we are going to have our human services element funding being filled out, so $30 million every year. And so this is a extraordinary situation. Their structure is burned to the ground. So that doesn't happen every day. But the funds that we have for human services are primarily for Bainbridge Island services. I'm saying that we don't serve and haven't seen the distribution of what that might be. And so this is a one-time appropriation for this. And to say that the Bainbridge Island hasn't contributed to it, I don't believe they ever applied to our human services funding. And so it would not, yeah, it was our opportunity to those are city funds for that. And for all those people who are applying to the human services grants and been through this a lot, I know you spent a lot of hours putting together a very detailed application that spent hours in the review process and then trying to get your share. And so some of those are working and they might get a smaller amount than this. I just want to make sure that those human services providers don't believe that we're pushing someone in front of the line. It's just an extraordinary situation. And so that's why we would support it. We believe they are serving folks, but we also have a process for how we would go for human service distribution, and just want to make sure that people who are doing this for years knows how that's competitive and takes a lot of effort. So I don't want any of those groups to say, you know, we spent all this time and we didn't receive that much or anything like that. I want to make sure that this was an extraordinary, very rare situation. We're not trying to subvert our human services process.
Thank you. One last note, and that's exactly why this task is coming before us, because they're in a tricky spot, because they're not physically located on Bainbridge Island. And I believe that's part of the requirements for the human service funding, even though they serve countywide and we don't have a facility at all that does this kind of work on Bainbridge Island. So I'm very happy that my colleagues have chosen to consider this and understand the unique nature of the work that's being done, and that it's currently not physically happening on Bainbridge, but certainly is serving our community.
Further discussion?
Aye.
And five zero, the chair votes aye, 6-0, so this moves forward. Thank you very much. Madam.
The last one, appointing Councilmember Schreiber as the additional liaison to the Mobility Advisory Committee. The council does have having up to 3 liaisons. There's currently 1 liaison to the new committee, and let Councilmember Schneider speak to this if she'd like to, or just take the opportunity.
Take it away from her. I'm just gonna make a motion.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, I would love to have support on this. I'm just saying, we don't have to discuss it. I move to appoint Councilmember Schneider as an additional liaison to the Mobility Advisory Committee.
And seconded by Councilmember Lance. Councilmember Nelson, you better not be opposed to this.
No. I just, it's a question, because how would I, in a similar vein, seek to do something similar that Councilmember Schneider is doing here? What was the process to getting this on the agenda, I guess is my question, because I would like to do something similar with a different committee.
I can. It is typical for liaisons kind of the first of the year, and we did have that conversation on January 22nd. I think we're when all committees were volunteers or volunteers resigned. I wasn't aware that Councilmember Schneider wished to join as an additional liaison committee and added to the agenda so that conversation happened. I think that opportunity is open to any council member who wishes to be appointed to a committee where there is a space available. So we can have up to 3 liaisons on any committee or 2 in committee. So if there's a case where people would like to be
And maybe there's several, and then one or two collectively so that people can have, the opportunity to, you know, talk about it more than one.
Okay, because I almost wonder if we should have a larger discussion about just whether we should have 2 on each committee and who wants to do them. But anyway, I'm supportive of Councilmember Schneider's appointment, but that was kind of a point of information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hudson. We did have a meeting where I ran through all of the names of all the different advisory committees and also the regional boards, asked for people if they wish to serve, et cetera, et cetera. So we did have, and I believe you were there too. So we did have that distribution for and opportunities for our members. So, all those in favor of appointing Councilor Schneider to say aye.
Aye.
Councilor 5-0, chair votes aye, and that passes. And welcome to the committee with Grandma Johnson. All right. Okay, so we have council announcements. Council.
Okay, short and sweet. It's been a busy week. The Utility Advisory Commission or Committee, excuse me, just follow up on the Verizon franchise agreement conversation. The UAC did bring it back to committee to discuss a little further about what kind of changes could be made within the agreement itself, and it was determined nothing. Signing the agreement the way it is the best move forward, but to work on another kind of some kind of a partnership agreement. In this case, they've agreed to form a subcommittee regarding cell phone coverage. So that was big news. Other than that, it was Strawberry Festival, which was a fantastic event celebrating our Filipino and Filipino community. And agriculture over the course of, gosh, 78 years, I think, was fantastic. And of course, yesterday being Memorial Day, I'll let someone else speak to that, but it was beautiful and rainy day.
Thank you, Mayor. So day after tomorrow, Thursday morning at 10 a.m. is the Puget Sound Regional Council's General Assembly. And I believe this will be the drum roll where we accept the transportation plan. So that's been a long time coming, a lot of work coming to that. Also, I wanted to report that the 305 High School Road Roundabout Subcommittee, which is Councilmember Land, Councilmember Bainbridge, Johnson, and myself. We've met twice now. We're gonna just rock and roll this for a while because we've got very little time in order to potentially make a difference. So we're gonna meet twice a week, and we're gonna be coming back. We're asking for some agenda time as soon as possible, which is probably the next business meeting. So we'll see what we get, but we really only have June to make a difference, and I'm looking forward to having that conversation.
Thank you, Councilor Schneider. Councilor Matthews.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to call out the planning commission again and just say what a really wonderful job they've done and give our thanks, our collective thanks. They passed on the conference plan, the Winslow sub-area plan to us officially this past Thursday. And after, gosh, over 18 months or so of really hard work. So just wanted to any of them listening really thank them for all of their service and their work for this community. And then I follow Councilmember Land around, that's my job. So I was also at the Strawberry Festival this weekend on Saturday, and I was really glad to pick up a frog rock hat. So I'm excited to have that. And then yesterday was a beautiful and green ceremony, Memorial Day ceremony that's every year at the same time. 11:30, the boys get there on Memorial Day at the monument of the high school. So that's it.
Thank you, Councilor. I'll just segue that was, and it was an honor to read our proclamation on behalf of all of you. And it is a moving thing, because Memorial Day is about calm. So that's about selling mattresses or weird things like they do in Memorial Day. So a couple other things, I went to the chamber after hours about the emerging pickleball. So we played pickleball tonight, and in my leather shoes and took my suit off, I learned how to play pickleball. And I actually beat it. So there we go, fine. I would have loved to come to the Strawberry Festival, but Saturday, I was at the final dedication of the Northwest Peace Pagoda outside of Bangor. It's a project that's been going on for decades. Very long history. Decades ago, they started one that was burned to the ground. It was found that there was a couple of Navy personnel and one was prosecuted. Many people have been arrested protesting nuclear weapons there. And they had 30 monks from Japan and other countries there, which was very impressive. And it's really a beautiful spot. It's called Ground Zero for Nonviolence Center. And they are the ones who are overseeing it, as well as our own local monks at Buddhist Temple. And it's just a fabulous thing. I sent an email to you. I forgot to mention this last week. That it's at 911 has this launched a non-emergency public phone line. It's 360-328-7717. And the content for this is to help people answer routine questions, get information, connect callers with appropriate resources, but they're not emergencies. You know, a fire, an injury, car accident, that kind of thing. But there's still people want information on how our communities, whether fire department, police, cities can help. And so that's a new number. Obviously creates faster access for, and it also frees up the current 911 dispatchers, because they really should be focused on the need right now. But people do ask for educated questions. And Councilor Matthews and Councilor Lent and I, are we the only ones who have previously moved to council? Right. Yeah, no, you're going to let's make sure I'm the same voters. All right. Okay, that's Thursday. Okay. Anybody else? Any other good folks?